What's up, guys? How you doing? It's good to be back with another show of AFC EAST Summit here on the Nickel City Mafia channel. Joined again by a bunch of great co-hosts, Anthony, Chris, and Brett. So, Anthony, Chris, you guys weren't here last week, so it's good to see you guys back. Anthony, you were moving last week. How'd that all go?
Thank God. So we spent the week moving. We are back in Chicago. I am so happy back here, Chicago. I'm from New York. I love New York, whatever, but like Chicago's my favorite city in the States, and I'm so happy to be back here, man.
Good to hear, man. Good to hear. Chris, how you doing, man? You were a little under the weather last week. How you feeling?
I'm feeling better, but I'm definitely sick of the Patriots right now. So still a little under the weather right now, but I'm good to be back with you fellas for sure.
Awesome. And Brett, how you doing tonight, man? Good to have you back on the show.
Well, I'm glad to be back, man. And you guys are running the fort, keeping everything intact and everything. You got it nice and set up. Got the log cabin going on. I'm just bringing the extra tonnage, just like a fullback would on the goal line, and I'm going to try and take us to the next level. But you guys are holding it down, doing a great job, and I feel like I'm just the 11th guy that just comes in and helps out a little bit. But you guys know what you're doing now. You guys are doing great, so I'm glad to be back for week 5 and talk about week 6, and it's going to be an interesting one to talk about because I know some people like the Red, White, and Bills, who's in the comments section. He's a little ticked off being a Bills fan right now, so we just got to settle everything down and just calm down, guys, and just remember that it's 1 week at a time. We'll get back into it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't necessarily blame Red, White, and Bills for his feelings, but it's 1 week. It's 1 week. It's time to move on. Yeah. So the doom and gloom. Maybe we can get past that a little bit tonight. So first, let's start off with our week 5 recaps here. Let's start off on a good note. So Anthony, take us through what happened with the Jets and Broncos last week.
All right. Well, I mean, we faced one of the worst teams in football, and we beat them. I can't be like 100% excited about it, if only because they still played the run, pass game most of the game until like they absolutely had to. They were still reluctant to throw on first down. It seemed like they were daring Denver to score some points, which thank God they couldn't. Breece Hall is loose, which is the best thing that's happened to this team, I think, this season. He looked completely refreshed. It was 171 yards on the ground, another 13 or 18 in the air. Scored a touchdown, busted loose on that 73-yard gainer. Still, Dalvin Cook bringing us down. Defense looked dominant as ever. You see what I was talking about, like with them, that defense playing with a lead versus that defense having to hold the other team from going up 2 or 3 scores is a completely different team. When they get to pin their ears back, boy, oh boy, were they dangerous. What was it, 2 sack fumbles on Russell Wilson. They got the punt return that they jarred a fumble loose as well. Good game. Could get better. But, we won, so got to be happy with it.
I saw you guys lost Elijah Vera Tucker for the season.
We
that's
did.
a pretty big loss.
Yeah, it is. But, like, I'm going to be honest with you. We just lose another tackle. We do it all the time.
Fair enough.
In the bushes. I'm used to it at this point, man. Last year, we lost, it was 5 tackles went down with season-ending injuries. So, like, we're only at 2 this year so far. So we're, maybe ahead of schedule. Max Mitchell played last year. He was a rookie 4th-round pick, high relative athletic score tackle, which is on par for what we draft. Played well last year, good in pass protection, is so-so in run protection. He can get a job done. And with Tittman busting loose in the guard at the guard spot right next to him, I don't feel so bad. Obviously, you lose an all-pro like ABT, life sucks, but like, whatever. Life as a New York Jet. We have 2 wins and 2 season-ending ACL injuries or Achilles injuries.
Okay. Well, like you said, a win's a win, right?
Yeah,
And Brees Hall looks like he's in mid-season form already, like just
yeah,
like he was last year. He's looking great.
yeah. He looks amazing. That he's just such a star. He is such a star. I love the pick. I love him as a prospect. He was a workhorse too. Back at Iowa State. You look back at his numbers. It was like 279 carries, 301 carries, 260 carries. Like that dude can tote the rock. For a dude as fast as he is, as explosive as he is, he can tote the rock. He is a workhorse.
Yeah, looking good. Brett,
Yeah.
did you watch that game at all?
I did actually. I watched a lot of it, and man, I mean, I gotta say, this is a different version of Zach Wilson that we're seeing over the last couple of weeks. A lot more confidence, just like uh, you saw from Bills fan CA. He doesn't want to be called by his real name anymore, so I gotta remember that. It's gonna be hard. But Bills fan CA saying that he looks a lot more confident. He's taking ownership, which is something that from last year to this year, I think is really showing his maturity as well. And wherever he goes at the end of the season, which I don't think he's going to stick around with the Jets, but if he has a good year, then the Jets might be able to get a draft pick or two back, which would be great for them. I know losing your second round pick because of Aaron Rodgers and trading for him, you might be able to get something later in the draft. Maybe you can trade up a little bit, get another draft pick. But I really like the way that he's taking command of the offense. And even when he played against the Kansas City Chiefs 2 weeks ago, it looked like he was a different player then. And he took ownership on the sideline, said it was all my fault. When in reality, I mean, I wouldn't say it was his fault, but that's what a quarterback's supposed to do, is take ownership and take the blame and don't let it go over to your other players. And I gotta say, being quarterback in the NFL is the hardest job you could possibly ever have. There's some quarterback situations that we have in the AFC East with Mac Jones and Zach Wilson, and luckily Buffalo right now, to a degree, you can say Josh Allen, it's a stable, I would say stable position for the Buffalo Bills, but there's always, it goes by a week basis. And when you have your good days, you're on top of the world. When you have your bad days, you're down on the end of the year. And it's been a couple of rough weeks for the Buffalo Bills, but luckily Tua's having a great year. Mac Jones is having a little bit of a struggle, and right now it seems like Zach Wilson is starting to climb that mountain and get right back into the race in the AFC.
It's certainly a far cry from what he did last year. I'll say that much. Chris, what's going on, man? How you feeling?
I mean, I guess if we want to stick on the subject of the Jets, I think Zach Wilson, he's been showing a lot of signs of life. He pleasantly surprised me during that Kansas City game. He looked great, and it wasn't even his fault that they lost, because I did see his receivers drop a few touchdowns during that game. His receivers were dropping passes. He was on the money. I don't know what happened during that week, but I think just the competition just sparked, a life in him that we haven't seen in the past few years. And I think I've seen, a couple posts going around and a couple statistics that said that was the first time that Patrick Mahomes has ever been outplayed at the quarterback level in his
Yeah.
career. So I think that was pretty amazing as well. So Zach Wilson really made a lot of moves, or he, made a lot of noise that game. The Jets are slowly improving, so I'm kind of excited to see what they're going to do, because unfortunately for the Patriots, I'm kind of our season's going downhill. I'm not really excited about what I'm seeing from them, especially the back-to-back blowout losses, the biggest margins in Bill Belichick's coaching history. So,
Well,
sad to see.
Well, then, since you brought it up, Chris, let's get into it. Let's get into it, man. What happened these past 2 weeks?
Man, there's so many different things. I don't know if it's whether you can blame the coaching, the offensive play coordinating, the offensive line. I mean, our running backs have been an issue since day one. So, of course, when you can't get any production on the ground, it's kind of hard to find production for the air, because they're just going to, continue to stack the box. They know you're not going to move the ball. I mean, you're looking at Ezekiel Elliott and Ramondre Stevenson, about 13 carries for like 50 yards, something real pedestrian, atrocious. They're about 8 8 carries for maybe 20 yards the last game against the Saints. It's just been horrible. Mac Jones has thrown a pick six in both of his last games against the Cowboys and the Saints, so that was disgusting. He's thrown at least 2 interceptions and they've at least fumbled the ball once. So they're averaging 3 turnovers in the past 2 games. 3 points are a point and a half. It's just horrible to see. Our defense is not able to get off the field, so of course by the end fourth quarter they're gassed. They can't get any stops. Our line's not blocking. Mac Jones is looking rushed. He's making horrible decisions. It's just a terrible thing to see. So on top of that, we are suffering from injuries.
Yeah.
I think all of our cornerbacks are out. Christian Gonzalez went down last week, so that was sad to see. So we had to pick up J.C. Jackson from the Chargers. Besides that, I think we still have three cornerbacks who are still hard, and we lost Matthew Judon, so that's the pressure on the pocket is pretty much non-existent. If you look at that Saints game, you can see that Derek Carr looked very comfortable in that pocket, had plenty of time to go through his reads of aggression. He just wasn't rushed. When the pocket collapsed, he moved out of it. It was just terrible to watch. So it's like the Mad Chatter said, it's a tire fire of a season for us right now.
Yeah, it's starting to look that way, Chris. I mean, I don't think I saw it going this way necessarily. I didn't see the Patriots making the playoffs personally, but I didn't see this happening to you. But I'll say this. You guys have been ravaged by injuries. Christian Gonzalez, for my money, was going to be the defensive rookie of the year. He looked that good to me. And losing Matthew Judon as well, it's just those are killer injuries on the defensive side of the ball. And offensively, Ramondre Stevenson hasn't had – I was looking at stats the other day. Like, he's got half the yards after contact this season than he did last season. He's just not the same back for whatever reason. I think part of that is your offensive line hasn't been as good. Your offensive line has also been hurt. I know they were missing at least 3 guys against the Dolphins in week 2. So it's just been tough sledding for you guys. And I don't know, how do you see things going forward? I mean, Mac Jones looks like he's regressed a little bit. How do you see the rest of the season going for you?
I mean, just honestly, we need to figure out what the issue is. We need to figure out how we can fix it right away. Like I said, my biggest thing, and I've been saying it since preseason, is the Patriots' offensive production, because our defense is great, but it's just with these injuries, it's next man up. You got to play. All these guys are professionals, so they just have to keep playing through it. So it can't be, we're missing our play, we're missing our starting guys. So, and granted, that is a big factor, but we just got to keep doing what we got to do every week. So. I don't know if we got to figure out some different play calling, some better passing. I just think that we definitely need production on the ground, because we have 2 dominant running backs, but it's really all the issues start at the offensive line. I think our offensive line is really hurting our production in the air, on the ground, and inevitably is just causing our team to just look really pedestrian. I mean, just the pick 6 that he threw to Tyrann Mathieu in the last game, that offensive line collapsed on him in the second. He tried to save the play, do a straight duck into the middle of the field. I don't understand why he would throw it into the dirt, but I don't know what's going on with the Patriots. So it's sad to see.
I mean, that last sentence, I don't know that I agree with that one. I'm not exactly sad to see it, but but I understand where you're coming from, Chris. Anthony, what are your thoughts on how the Patriots have been doing this year?
I mean, I just feel bad for Mac Jones.
Yeah.
The kid's got no time back there. And you see the last couple of games or so, like, they were so heavily outmatched in terms of talent. And when you hit the nail on the head when you're talking about the line, like, the offensive line is one of the worst in the NFL. It's definitely bottom 5. We're watching some really, real stinkers out there in terms of, like, offensive line play this year. I think there are some teams that are playing guys that might not have a single, like, average NFL starter on the entire 5-man line. And we're watching, like, players suffer, like Bryce Young, and Mac Jones is one of them. And, I can reference the interceptions that he threw. One of them was a tip pass. That's true. The pick 6. And then another one was just like he's trying to make a play.
Yeah.
And you can't blame him for trying to make a play. Like, we laud quarterbacks all the time for going off script and doing something. But, like, at the end of the day, like, there's nothing you can't. He's not even getting enough to be functional offensive line or to have functional offensive play at this point.
Yeah.
There's nobody that's going to be able to do anything behind that. And then you factor in the fact that he doesn't have a single wide receiver that can get open. There's not one guy that you can like consistently say this guy is going to get open. You can say, you know, Josh Allen, he might get pressured, but Stephon Diggs is always open. Tyreek Hill is always open. Jalen Waddle's almost always open.
Garrett Wilson is always
Garrett
open.
Wilson is always open. Mac Jones has what? Devontae Parker?
Devontae Parker's never open. You have to throw Devontae Parker open. Like
exactly.
Devontae Parker has always been one of those contested catch guys. He's never he doesn't have the speed or the quickness to shake a cornerback and get himself open. Juju Smith-Schuster is, and I said this in the preseason. I know you scoffed at it, Chris. Juju Smith-Schuster is miscast as the number one wide receiver. He is a Robin. He is not Batman.
Yeah,
and I think that's proving itself to be true right now. You know, you got another guy, Mike Gesicki, who's a really good receiver, but he's not a guy that's gonna get himself open. He's just really big. So you throw it up to him and hope he comes down with it. You know, I think the Patriots would have done well to get DeAndre Hopkins, and I know they tried.
Yeah. You see what Hopkins just did this week? It was like 160 yards, 180 yards, something like that. Like 11 catches.
Back the clock, man. He turned back the clock. He looked great. And that's a guy that the Patriots could have used in their offense this year, a guy with some explosion. And I know the Patriots tried, and, you know, he ultimately went to the Titans. And I didn't understand that from his perspective. To be honest, I thought he would have been a better fit on the Patriots, but you can't deny how well he's doing in Tennessee right now. So, you know, all right, let's move on. Brett, Bills in London. They didn't look great against the Jags. What's going on?
Well, I'm not going to be the person that's going to come out here and use all the excuses and everything. I mean, the biggest thing I would say for the Buffalo Bills is they just didn't perform out there on the field. Plain and simple. They didn't perform on offense. There's a lot of plays that were left on the table that they could have ran that they just didn't have a chance to. And their defense was on the field way too long. They shouldn't have been on the field nearly as much as they were. And they didn't look like they were ready. They didn't look like they showed up. Honestly, it reminded me of, you know, the game against the Denver Broncos for you guys. I'm not saying that the Bills gave up whatsoever, but it just seemed like a team that wasn't ready to go. And we did have a lot of injuries. Don't get me wrong. Matt Milano, big injury to the Buffalo Bills. He's going to be out for the season with a fractured leg, as well as an ACL tear. So that's unfortunate news for him. Now, from what we've heard from reports, and this is everything that has been said around the NFL, you very well might not see Matt Milano next year either. And you have to it's a shocker for an all-pro that was having his best year and looking like a consideration, at least in my opinion, for defensive player of the year. And then not only do you lose him, but you also lose Tre'Davious White the week before. And then you also lose Daquan Jones, who's a big part of this defense, number one in pressure rate in the NFL this season, to a torn pec. Another unfortunate injury. If you watch Sean Kula from the Red, White, and Bills, he has a film study that he did, and he showed the video of the injury to Daquan Jones. It just looked like he was trying to make a normal tackle, and he reached his arm out, and his arm popped. So I think that he had something before this injury, and he might have made it worse. But I will say this: traveling to London, and you guys are probably going to be on the same page as me when I say it. Traveling all the way to London, number one, and having jet lag, as well as not being able to get onto a routine and schedule, especially being as far ahead as London is never a good thing. And then you have a team in the Jacksonville Jaguars that were there the week before playing in Wembley. They're back on a schedule. They have the time change acclimated. They were able to practice all week, and they also are able to get into a nice routine of what they need to do. That's great for them. But from what we've heard from a lot of players, they've said, and including some of the Jaguars players, they said that this field felt like it was cement. And to me, I don't understand why they don't just keep the grass turf that they have there and why they have an artificial turf that's not even, in my opinion, should be NFL regulated to play on. It's not the same thing that you see that's over in the United States. It's a different thing. We use in the United States, we use black pellets for the rubber on the turf. They use this green pellet that's totally different, and it should not have been played on, in my opinion. I'm not saying that, to be an excuse or anything like that, but you have to understand why we're playing on this surface and why we're not playing on grass. That's something that has to be brought up. There's been so many injuries this year, not only to the Buffalo Bills, but the Dolphins having a lot of injuries as well. The Jets having some major injuries with, Aaron Rodgers to begin the season.
Mm-hmm.
And then even the Patriots. I mean, you talked about it, Chris, about all the injuries that they're going through. There has to be a discussion coming up about whether or not to bring up having some grass fields. That's something that needs to be brought up. Injuries happen in the game. I get that. This is a game where you're going to have a ton of injuries, but I would say this. You got to think about the health and safety of the players and consider the possibility of grass fields.
So I understand what you're saying, Brett, and I appreciate what you're saying as far as the turf goes. I don't know that you can blame the turf on Matt Milano's injury. Somebody dove into his leg and broke it.
Right.
And
No,
tore
I
up his
agree.
knee in the process. Daquan Jones's torn pec just looked like a freak injury. Just looked like something that it just happened. And you can't really account for something like that. You can't blame the turf on those injuries.
Well,
go ahead.
I'll go at you. I'm going to debate it back and forth with you, bud, because, I have a lot of respect for what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying, and you're exactly right on the situation. But not only do we have these injuries, but there is injuries to Taron Johnson, who planted his leg, and his leg pretty much got stuck in the turf. And then you have other injuries as well. Leonard Floyd, Ed Oliver. It seemed like everybody on defense was injured this game.
The Jags played on that turf 2 weeks in a row, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Falcons played the week before.
Good point, Anthony.
Well, they played at Wembley Stadium, which is across town.
Okay.
So it wasn't the
that
same.
One also had turf.
I'm sorry?
That one also had turf.
That one also had turf, yeah. So they were able to play on it. They understand how to play on that type of surface and everything. The Buffalo Bills, and I'm not going to take all the credit to the NFL for the scheduling or anything like that. Sean McDermott should have got his team out there a lot sooner than he did. He waited until Friday to get the team out there, get them acclimated. When you don't practice from Thursday until game day, that's a big sign that your team is going to crap the bed. And they're going to be sluggish. They're not going to be good. They should have came out there, after Sunday. They should have came out there and been in London on Monday morning. And, yeah, you're going to be tired. You're going to be sore. You're going to be this and that. But you have to do what's best for your team and get out there.
Brett, I'd like to acknowledge a few of these comments here. We got a few newbies coming in. Fentan McCann, Fence fan here. Smart man. Good to have you on the show. Good to have you join the show, Fentan. Hope you like what you see, and if you do, like and subscribe. DKB Jets. Also, some of these injuries are freaky. Yeah. And we do have to, I agree with you. We do have to stop blaming every nick on the field. But I understand turf has been blamed for injuries since, the beginning of time, it feels like, but, and I don't know. I know why they didn't play on Tottenham's grass, because Tottenham didn't want them to. The soccer team, the football team didn't want them to be playing on grass.
See, I'm going to tell you this. You got to understand that football in the United States is more important. Football in the United States is way more important than quote unquote football. I'm going to tell you that.
You'd have a bunch of angry Brits trying to fight you over that comment.
I'm kidding right now, guys. I'm totally kidding. But
so to your point though, Brett, the Jaguars were out there all week eating figgy pudding and fish and chips and stuff. And, and the Bills just got out there, and that has to play a factor. And that's also So I think it was you, Brett, who sent an interview with Roger Goodell where he was basically saying we're trying this out and to see what kind of effect it has where a team's been over there, been over in London, and then another team comes over to play them.
Right.
And so it's obviously a ploy to see what happens when they put a team in London.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But, I'm pretty sure the science on this has been settled. You fly to London, you get jet lagged, and the team's already in London. They're not jet lagged. Like, I don't know that there's anything that he needed to definitively see here that would have changed his mind. So the Bills kind of got screwed on this one. And
can I? There's a
comment
real quick by the Mad Chatter. Why are we in London? Greedy Goodell. All right, so I want to give you a little bit of inside baseball on the way the economics work on it. So there's the NFL does revenue sharing. That means that all 32 teams pool a certain pots of their money. Not all of it, but certain pots of their money. The London game money is not pooled. It's split between the two teams that go over there. That's why you always see every single year the Jags are over there, because they'll give away as many home games as they possibly can because they never draw in Jacksonville. Those games are some of the lowest revenue games in the entire NFL. So if they can trade out some of their home games for some of the games that are over in London, where the stadium is always packed, they're selling jerseys left and right. That's exactly what they'll do. And it's the exact same thing with the Bills. The Bills chose to go to London. They chose to play against the Jaguars for that game. That was an opportunity. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, it's like a 60-40 split for the home team. That's why the Bills wound up getting the logo in the end zone. And it all comes down to the fact that the Bills didn't have to split that money. It's a large revenue game. You saw how many Bills jerseys got sold over there. Those go straight into the pockets of the owners. Like, that is a cash grab game.
Oh, I agree with what you're saying there. I agree with what you're saying, Anthony, but I will say this, though. I know damn well that Terry Perdula and the Buffalo Bills and Bills Mafia and everybody else does not want to take a home game away from Highmark Stadium whatsoever, because the Bills make a ton of money off of that. And
they're still getting their 8 home games.
The amount of money that they make off of the London game is stunning, because they sell the tickets for more in London than they do in the United States, because the draw there, because they only get 5 games, 6 games a year. Like, it is
that stadium's huge. That stadium's huge. That stadium's bigger than any NFL stadium.
Yeah, the gate that they draw there is insane.
And I want to say, from me being 2 hours from Jacksonville, I've gone to the stadium, and those tickets are dirt cheap. And the stadium is pretty small, and even if you're in the nosebleeds, you still got a pretty good view of the field. So I can understand why Jacksonville wants to go over there all the time. So
the Jacksonville owner years ago was threatening to move them to London. That's been his idea for about a decade now. Right now, they're holding Jacksonville by their shortened curlies to get in the stadium. Because they're threatening not necessarily to go to London.
Is that a British term, Anthony? Is that a British term?
Pardon my French.
So I'll say this though. One thing I want to kind of add to it is I do like the Jaguar Stadium. I think it's pretty cool as far as having a pool in your stadium. Oh, yeah. That's the only place. That's the only place that that's the only place I'm going to watch a game from is in that pool. I mean, I can't imagine how dirty it is. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to keep it PG, guys. I'm going to keep it PG. Okay. I can imagine. I'm assuming there's a filtration system and everything that they have in there, but I mean, I'm just thinking about the amount of alcohol and stuff that you have in the pool. Might not be a good idea, but hey, Daytona. Listen, Daytona has the lake that they have around the racetrack. People go in the pool and or in the lake and everything. People go in the pool. I mean, it is what it is. You mix alcohol with the lakes and the pools and everything. You can't imagine how it's going to be. And listen, the mascot jumps in the pool too. So just saying.
Yeah, the pool is a pretty cool feature, and the best thing about it, especially in the hot Florida days, you can just go stand in the pool. It's a standing room. It's a standing room ticket, so you have to stand. You don't have a chair, and then you can hop in the pool and you can stand back at the table. But I mean, I guess I'd hope they cleaned it properly, because there are a lot of people who go in that pool during the summers. toward the winter time, those tickets drop down significantly, but it's like no one's going to be in the pool during the winter. It gets cold, it gets chilly, so
Okay, well, I'm going to move on to the Dolphins game. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. Much like what Anthony said, the Dolphins beat one of the worst teams in the NFL on Sunday. They beat the Giants, and another really terrible offensive line that is the Giants, and they were missing their three best offensive linemen in this game, in Shan Lemieux, John Michael Schmitz, and Andrew Thomas. So the Dolphins defensive line, I was looking for them to dominate, and they did. And I can't, while I don't want to take that away from them, I don't want to take Keith. The Giants are a great team, Fred White and Bill says. No, I don't want to take the Dolphins defensive line dominance away from them, but it was against a B-list offensive line at best, B and C-list offensive line, if we're being honest about it. They were also missing Saquon Barkley. Daniel Jones didn't have much time to throw, and even when he did, who was he throwing to? Basically, his only plan was to throw it up to Darren Waller and hope for the best.
Poor Darren Waller.
What's
Darren
that?
Waller. I said poor Darren Waller. Wasted talent.
Yeah, he's a great talent, and he's had a tough time staying healthy this season, but he was healthy in this game, and he made some nice catches against the Dolphins. The Dolphins had a real problem with him, but the problem is that he was their only real threat to do anything against the Dolphins offensively. So once the Dolphins shut him down, that was blouses. Daniel Jones got hurt in that game. Tyrod Taylor came in, didn't fare much better. The Dolphins offense, they moved the ball pretty much at ease, pretty much at will against the Giants defense. There were a couple of really bad, there was one really bad throw by Tua on the goal line that was returned for a pick six. And, there was another one where his hand was hit. He wasn't able to follow through on the throw. He threw it high. It was intercepted by Azeez Ojulari, who played a really nice game for the Giants. An otherwise unspectacular game for the Giants. Azeez Ojulari played a really nice game for them. But all in all, the game never felt like it was in question. The game never felt like it was particularly close. And the Dolphins coasted the victory. Devon Achane, yes, DKB Jets, yes, he did get injured in that game. He's going to be out a few weeks. They're considering IR for him, actually. So, yeah, they are considering IR. So, I think he was getting a second opinion today, so we'll know more tomorrow. But I would expect him to miss at least 2 or 3 games.
Is Mostert also banged up?
Mostert's a little banged up, but he's all right. He made it through. He's going to be all right. They're also getting Jeff Wilson back in a couple of weeks. Maybe not next week, but maybe the week after. Salvin Ahmed is back. He just hasn't he hasn't been able to get on the field because of Devon Achane. And Chris Brooks, I
saw he got like 7 snaps, yeah.
He did, and he was in pass protection especially. He was great. He laid out a blitzing linebacker. It was nice to see.
That dude is
rough. You've been talking him up a lot, Anthony. So it was a solid game. It was an unspectacular game. The Dolphins did not play their best game. But the disparity in talent between those two teams was really evident because the Dolphins weren't firing on all cylinders, and the Giants just don't have the tools to fire on all cylinders. So it was just an easy victory for the Dolphins. And those aren't easy to come by in the NFL. So when you get one, you should appreciate it. Did any of you guys watch the game? What were your thoughts on it?
I'll tell you this though. I mean, I watched a little bit of it, not a lot, but it just seemed like, at the point when Chan got injured, I think that kind of took a little momentum out of you guys, though. Just a little. It seemed like, you guys kind of lost the momentum in that point. But, I mean, I got to ask you, Keith, because we're playing them this week. What's the recipe for beating the Giants?
Show up. That's
No, honestly, don't have any injuries.
Yeah, just don't get caught in traffic on the way to the stadium. That's that's how you beat the Giants. No, I mean, their offensive line's in tatters, so you lean on that offensive line until it breaks. And I don't know what Daniel Jones' status is going to be going into the season. I know he was hurt in that game and didn't come back. I think that was more so the offensive line isn't doing him any favors. The defensive line is just pinning their ears back and coming for him. Let's just, take him out for the rest of the game. Let Tyrod Taylor take his lumps. So I think you'll see Daniel Jones again. I also think Saquon Barkley might be back this week because he was close coming into the Dolphins game. So, according to Red, White, and Bills, their injured guys are playing this week. We'll see. I know Andrew Thomas was still iffy, and so was John Michael Schmitz. So we'll see about their offensive line, but I think, as far as playing the Giants, this is just like when you guys lost to the Jets in week 1, and I said the Raiders game was a get-right game for the Bills. Well, this Giants game is a get-right game for the Bills. You get to, go there. Is it a home game for you guys?
It is a home game for us, so we get to go back to Highmark. It's at night, Sunday night. So.
Sunday night, okay.
I'll tell you this much. I'm looking forward to hearing Carrie Underwood and her rendition of Waiting All Day for Sunday Night on this one because she's got to include some Bills Mafia. And then I'll say this to you real quick. I don't know if you guys have listened to the new there's a new version of it's like In the Air Tonight by Chris Stapleton and Snoop Dogg are doing it for ESPN's Monday Night Football.
Strange.
It's actually really weird, but it's a great rendition of it.
You don't say. It's actually really weird.
It's really weird, but I mean, no, but Chris Stapleton is doing the Phil Collins part, and then it's Snoop Dogg comes in and has a little bit of adds the football side of it to the song. So if you haven't, go on YouTube, check it out. It's actually a pretty good version of it. So, that's a good thing. But Keith, I wanted to ask you a question though, real quick. You have a practice squad player that Tyreek Hill is talking his ear up on, and
Ethan Bonner.
He might get poached from the team. Talking about a cornerback that's got a lot of speed. So Ethan Bonner, is it Bonner or Boner?
I think it's Bonner because it's 2 N's.
Bonner.
Yeah.
So he came from Stanford. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
So I wanted to know a little bit about him. Maybe we can see Buffalo poach him a little bit.
I mean, if you do, best of luck to you. He can't make the field on the Dolphins secondary right now. And the Dolphins secondary, it has not been good. You have Xavier Howard and Eli Apple, who's been horrible. Cater Coe, who's a slot guy. Nick Needham, Jalen Ramsey, they've been on IR all season. It's Cam Smith who can't see the field. The Dolphins secondary has not been good, and Ethan Bonner hasn't been able to make see the field with them. So, if you want him, go for it, and good luck to you.
Apparently, he's like the third or the second fastest player on the Dolphins behind Tyreek Hill, and then you have Devon Achane as well. That's third. So, I mean, that's the talk that's going around. I'm trying to figure it out.
I'd like to see those guys race. I don't know who's the fastest person. I would think it's Tyreek Hill, but you know what? The way Achane broke away from those Giants players for that 76-yard touchdown on Sunday, he made those guys look like they were standing still. He really did. It was just so I'd like to see those guys race in the offseason just to put this to rest who the fastest person on the Dolphins is.
I did want to ask you.
I was going to tell you to pull up that comment too, by the way, by Coach AJ. Coach AJ, appreciate the love. Thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely love it.
I was going to ask you, Keith, how does it feel now that everybody measures how fast a player is based on Miami Dolphins?
It feels weird, Anthony.
So Breece Hall is the official fastest offensive player besides a Miami Dolphin in the
You know what? It feels weird. But it's great, and it was kind of a gradual thing. They drafted Jalen Waddle, brought in Raheem Mostert, brought in Tyreek Hill, and all of a sudden the Dolphins offense was a track meet, and I didn't see it coming until it was here. And then they drafted Devon Achane, and oh, okay, cool, another guy who's super fast. You
I was
know,
gonna
go ahead,
I was,
Chris.
I was gonna say, I feel like the Dolphins right now are kind of having, compared to basketball, I feel like the Dolphins right now are kind of having like that Stephen Curry effect, where they're changing the game of football, where now it's like speed kills, so everyone's looking for that speed on their team. Because if you look at what the Dolphins are doing on offense, offensive DBs can't keep, linebackers can't keep up with them, so Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are running circles. Raheem Mostert, he was already one of the fastest running backs in the NFL. He just had an issue staying healthy. Now you
Yeah.
added Devon Achane, and with all the drag routes that they have, all the motion plays, just throwing, keeping linebackers, keeping cornerbacks on their toes, they're just changing the game of football. So it's going to be very interesting to see the direction it moves forward. Just like Steph Curry, when he came in, he started hitting all the threes, him and Klay Thompson, and all of a sudden now every single team in the NFL, I mean in the NBA, if you didn't have a 3-point shooter, you were pretty much obsolete. So it feels like the Dolphins are really having that effect on the NFL at this moment.
I like that analogy, Chris. I like that analogy a lot. But it's also picking the right fast guys though too. I think the Dolphins got lucky in that respect, because it's not as though the Dolphins picked a guy. Jakeem Grant years ago, diminutive little dude, punt returner, and they tried to use him on gadget plays and stuff like that. But you breathe on him, he falls down. There was another guy that Steelers drafted a while ago, Dre Archer. I don't know if you guys remember him.
Yep.
But
I went to school with him.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was another super fast guy, but he was tiny and he couldn't last in the NFL. So speed has always killed, and I think that the Dolphins are changing the way teams are going to build their offenses going forward. And I think there's only so many super fast guys to go around in this league. And the Dolphins just kind of got lightning in a bottle on this one, and they just got super lucky, I think.
I'll tell you this though, Keith, real quick. They're great unless they play the Buffalo Bills, and I put that as a comment in here.
Yeah,
they run everything great. I'll give you guys your props. I'll give you your flowers. You beat the record for first 5 games having the most yards in NFL history, beating out the 99 Rams, which is an incredible accomplishment. Yep. Greatest show on turf you beat out, which is an incredible accomplishment that you guys did. Your head coach said that mission accomplished. You got through the whole entire season. That's your Super Bowl win that you just got and everything. So it seems like you guys might have caught on a little too early, and I think defenses are going to start finding out ways to beat you. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just kidding when I say this. I'm giving the trash talk. We had Coach AJ that came in the group chat and said that we haven't talked crap yet, so I have to kind of throw some shade at you a little bit. Man.
No, I get what you're saying, and when we look at the stuff, and that's the thing. When I was trying to downplay the Giants' victory, because it's a ho-hum victory against a bad football team. The Dolphins played a good football team 2 weeks ago and got their doors kicked in by the Bills. And so it's fair criticism, because who have the Dolphins actually beaten this season? They beat the Chargers in a track meet, and that's probably a quality win. But other than that, they've beaten the Patriots, who don't look great. Sorry, Chris, but they don't.
They don't.
The Broncos and the Giants. Who have they beaten? So the Dolphins, they've got some tough games coming up this season. They've got 2 against the Jets. They've got another one against the Bills. They have the Cowboys. They have the Eagles. They have the Chiefs. There are tough games on the horizon for the Dolphins, and we're going to learn a lot about how effective their speed is in the coming weeks. So yeah, let's move on here, guys. I wanted to do so. We're a little more than a quarter way through the season. I want you guys to give me a letter grade on what you think how you think your team's done throughout the season so far. So, Brett, I'll start with you.
Oh man, you got to start with me. So, all right, I'm the worst person that you could have started with, because I pretty much almost flunked out of college, which is bad to say, but My letter grades for college and high school and everything were D to F range. I don't know how I possibly could have gotten out of college, to be honest with you, without my wonderful fiance that I have here that pretty much on the record was Brett McDurphy that did all my assignments and everything, and legally was Brett McDurphy. So done with school and everything, I'm allowed to say that because I do have my degree. I can never go back on that. I'm out of school for 3 years now, so they can never take it away. It's only 2 years later that they can take it away. Wow. But for me, I will say the Bills overall grade. I mean, as a team, I would say B-. I think that they played pretty good ball lately. Just a couple of blunders on offense that you can look at, a couple of games where I think Josh Allen would want those games back and look at what he did out there on the field, how he commanded the offense and everything, especially against the Jets game and then the Jaguars game. I mean, it was the Jets game. They weren't prepared for that team. I'm going to tell you that right now. And you can go back and look at it. We weren't the team that we are right now. And the Jaguars game, I will say this, Josh Allen it was too little too late in that game. They tried to, at the end of the game, they found a rhythm. They were back on track. But when you crap the bed in the first quarter and you crap the bed in the second quarter and, you start to get a rhythm in the second quarter, but you still have crapped the bed. And you go into the third quarter and you don't even have the ball for the third quarter. And then you try and go into the fourth quarter and play hero ball and try and win the game. That's a recipe for disaster. And that's not how you're supposed to play the game. So I'll say this, B-. That's my grade for the team. I think that there's room for improvement. And, I want to hear what you guys think. And I might be a critic that's pretty hard on my team, but, I think there's room for improvement.
I'll go ahead and start out. I think that I feel like that's an accurate grade. The Bills, they've been looking good throughout the first half of the season. During that Jacksonville game in London, I think if they would have got there earlier, kind of beat that jet lag and rested and then kind of practice, they would have been in good shape because you are right. Toward the end of the fourth quarter, you didn't really see Josh Allen start making plays, and it really did scare the Jaguars fans. It wasn't until that big run by Etienne where they really put the game away. But outside of that, they were coming back. Josh Allen hit 2 big plays back to back, moved them right in the end zone in less than a minute. It was beautiful to see. So the Bills have found their rhythm. They have that big playability. They have all the weapons. They're firing on cylinders. So I'd give them that B. I give them like a B+. They are looking good, and they're a good looking team. I do pick them as a heavy favorite for the AFC East to go to the playoffs, maybe the conference finals. So that's accurate.
What do you think, Anthony?
I think it's about right. I still don't think that they know who they are. Offensively. And it shows 1 week, not Dalvin Cook, the other Cook.
James Cook.
James
Cook. Dalvin Cook.
the Cook that still has legs. 1 week he was off and he's, 7 yards a carry. And the next week he's, hardly doing anything. We're going to week six of, this week our 2 tight end set's going to work. Every week we're still not seeing your Dalton Kincaid do anything. It's still the Stephon Diggs show. I didn't look up the numbers, but off the top of my head, I think I remember seeing something like 60% of your pass offense is still Stephon Diggs. He's 29 years old. He pulls a hamstring, and then what? It's they're still. What's that?
Then you got to find somebody on the trade market.
You hope to, but
Evans or Tyler Boyd.
It's just I would like to see a little bit more. I would like to see it less Josh Allen hero ball and more an offensive thing working. And then every week another one of your defensive players gets hurt. It's attrition. So what are we going to see? We're into the second Ken Dorsey year and we're still seeing no evolution on the offense. So I mean, I'm with you. I think a B- is probably fair. I mean, it's almost even generous.
I think a B minus is a good grade. I also don't put that loss to the Jaguars completely on the Bills. I think it's on the schedule makers, and I understand everything you were saying, Anthony, about the Bills wanting to go out there and all that. But the fact of the matter is, if the Bills wanted to be competitive in that game, they should have left. They should have left Buffalo right after the Dolphins game and flew to London.
Completely agree. They looked exhausted, and they were in the perfect sweet spot. I don't know if you've traveled abroad much, but like that first day, you're fine. That second day, even, you're kind of okay. They were 56 hours. They were just into their third day of being there. That's when that jet lag hits you bad. And they didn't even show up until halfway through the second quarter.
Yeah.
They were getting dog walked until that moment.
Yeah.
And it's hard to win in the NFL when you're fighting exhaustion.
Yep.
Like, it was a bad situation, a bad decision to show up that late. They should have, like you said, showed up right after the Dolphins game. I mean, get your treatment, whatever, fly on Monday. It's not that long of a flight. It's like 6 hours, 7 hours.
All right, so let's move on to the next letter grade. Chris, give me a letter grade, man.
If you would have asked me in week 3, I probably would have gave us a C. We weren't with it. We weren't losing. We beat the Jets, and we weren't losing games by a big margin. So I would have given us a C. But looking at the past 2 games and just the points that they've given up and the offense I've shown, I give us a D minus, if not an F, because our offensive line, our running back production, just our through the air production, our passing yards, and just the defense has been crumbling as of late. So. It's a sad thing to see, that the Patriots dynasty is coming to an end for sure, and maybe looking like the end of the Bill Belichick the era as well. Because, you can't fire a great coach like that. It's only 6 games through the season, so I see that everyone's calling for him to be fired and then to move on. And they say that the season's over and it's time to start rebuilding, burn it down, and build it back up. But I think you at least give them a season, wait for players to get back healthy and see exactly if they could turn the ship around, if they could fix the line issues, and see, if we could just at least try to get to 500. I mean, there's 17 games played in the season, so it's far from over, but you got to make something change real quick. But as of now, through the first part of the season, I'm definitely giving us a D minus because we're just looking horrible, dead in the water.
Brett, what are your thoughts on that, man?
Yeah, I completely agree with Chris on this one. I think that his grade is very accurate. The one thing I'm looking at for the Patriots is, on offense, you need to get healthy on the offensive line. You need to develop a playmaker or find a playmaker. Like we talked about, with the trade deadline that's coming up, there's guys that probably are going to want out of their contracts. They are guys that, some teams are probably not going to be able to play, and Tyler Boyd and Mike Evans, and there's going to be some other guys that are going to become available as well. And you can also look at the Denver Broncos, who are probably going to become a fire sale coming up. So you got Jerry Jeudy, you have Cortland Sutton as well. And it's very close to the time where Bill Belichick should go after a big name player. And you looked at DeAndre Hopkins, you looked at Dalvin Cook, you got Ezekiel Elliott, but just doesn't seem like there's really anybody on offense that kind of like you have to worry about, and that's not only the quarterback position, the running back positions, the wide receivers, tight ends. There really isn't that guy that I'm going, oh, we're playing the Patriots, we have to worry about, a Stephon Diggs or Jalen Waddle or a Tyreek Hill or Garrett Wilson.
Gronk and a Julian Edelman.
Yeah, there's no Gronk or Julian Edelman, and that really hurts your offense. And I want to see the Patriots at their best, and right now that's not there. There's a lot of injuries, don't get me wrong, but they need to find some answers, and Belichick's going to have to put his thinking cap on this one and try and find a way to save the season.
Anthony, what are your thoughts on the D minus grade?
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I think that GM Belichick has let the team down again, but at the same time, some of the things he can't be planned for. The injuries have been excruciating. They had a plan on offensive line. That plan blew up game 1. So we're really looking at the shell of what this offense could have been. But, you can't disrespect the fact that they haven't brought in enough playmakers for Mac Jones. They are They are severely undermanned. Do you blow it up? I don't know. Chris? How are you feeling about picking up Mac Jones' 5th-year option this year, this offseason? Would you do it or not?
Me personally, I don't think Mac Jones is a good quarterback, bad quarterback, but I don't think he's a good quarterback either. I don't think he's going to be that guy who's going to lead us into, who's going to lead us to what's it called, the conference finals or even the playoffs. Lead us to a victory in a playoff game. But I wouldn't pick it up. I wouldn't pick it up.
So
I
if you're
think,
not going to pick it up, then you might as well blow up the team.
yeah.
At that point,
Yeah.
like you've got some nice pieces on defense. They're young. You can build around that, but like your offensive line is still not looking good. And it's not like you're at a point where you can just insert another young quarterback. This is going to be a fantastic draft coming up for offensive linemen.
Yeah.
Like, this will be a great time if you're going to pick up a couple of extra picks. Maybe start rebuilding the offensive line, start again with a new quarterback. We were joking. I'm in Chicago. I was joking with a friend of mine who's a Bears fan about maybe the Bears send Fields to Atlanta, but maybe New England sends Mac Jones to Atlanta. I know Jasmine Ritter had a nice week this week, but that's been it. Besides that, like.
Or even you can look at guys like Ryan Tannehill, his contract's coming up, and Kirk Cousins. This is the last year of his contract. Baker Mayfield as well. 1-year contract with the Bucs. Probably going to sign a long-term extension with Tampa Bay. But those are 3 guys that the Patriots can look at next year, and you can build your team around with the offensive line and use that quarterback as a bridge gap to develop a rookie quarterback as well.
Where's the bridge quarterback gone? Like, the bridge quarterback was the thing when I was a kid. We would, you had your Jeff Blakes. You had your quarterbacks that'll do a couple of years until you get your young guy in there, settle down the offensive line, get a couple of weapons in there, and then boom, you can start again.
I thought Gardner Minshew was going to be that in Indianapolis this year. I thought he was going to be a bridge quarterback.
He looks great as a backup. He looks fantastic as a backup.
Yep. But they wanted Richardson to start, and Richardson's looked good. He's hurt now, but
I don't think Richardson's look good. I think he's too much of a run-first quarterback. If he puts his head down, he's killing himself. So
he didn't get hurt on a run first. He got hurt on a read option. Like he was.
Yeah, but that doesn't change.
He's set in the pocket. I don't know how much
I've been watching him, but that doesn't change the fact that he's still be getting banged up like throughout the entire first half of the season. Though he's been taking some big hits and he's been running.
Yes.
Well, the Colts still don't have any offensive line either, besides Quentin Nelson.
Yeah.
Yeah, they haven't been hitting.
Well, Anthony, give me a letter grade for the Jets, real quick.
I'm going to give the Jets a C+. The defense is on point. It's absolutely delivered and more. They still are way too tentative. I feel like we have maybe one of the few coaching setups that can coach us out of a win, and that's scary. Like that Broncos game, like 4th and 2 on like the 10. Go for it. What's wrong with you? You just got a safety 10 minutes ago. What are we talking about here? Like the tentativeness, how scared they are. They are out there playing coward ball, punting on the 50. Like it.
Anthony.
You muted yourself, Anthony.
Out of the room right now, it's Robert Saleh.
That was my bad. So,
go ahead.
Anthony, can you repeat the last part of what you were saying? That was on me. I apologize so much. I muted you on accident, buddy.
Oh, okay. It feels like if there's a coach that can coach you out of a win right now, it's Robert Saleh. His tentativeness, his lack of aggression, his downright cowardice is going to cost this team needed victories.
Ooh. I wouldn't call Saleh a coward to his face. I'll be honest with you.
I ain't big mad about that. I'll do it through a camera though.
Well, we'll see. If that's the way he continues to go, then who knows? Maybe he won't be in New York next year.
He'll be back at Grand winning a Super Bowl.
Brett, what are your thoughts on Anthony's grade?
Well, if Anthony wants Saleh out, then he's going to go back to San Fran, win a Super Bowl there, and he'll become another head coach of another team, probably the Patriots, and then it'll go back to bite us in the rear ends again. So we'll see that.
It's not that I want him out. I want him to stop being. I can't even use those words. I just want him to stop being such a scaredy cat. If you have a top 5 defense, play it like you have a top 5 defense.
I agree. Don't get me wrong, I agree.
Pressure
So-
on the other team.
Chris, what are your thoughts on Anthony's grade?
I mean, I think it's accurate. Like he says, Jets defense is wonderful. You know, they're doing their thing. I watched them. I'm gonna keep referring to the game against the Chiefs. You know, they really dismantled. You know, they had Patrick Mahomes discombobbled. You know, what they had about 3 interceptions on Patrick Mahomes that night.
I
You know,
think
they
it was
look.
cool, yeah. And
Yeah,
one
they
got
look.
called back because the Michael Carter one, on the phantom interference call or whatever it was. Defensive holding call that they threw after the interception.
Yep, exactly. So the Jets defense is really stepping up. They're looking good. And then you also saw sparks of life from Zach Wilson in that on the offensive side as well. So I think if they give him they don't want to give him the leash. They don't want to let the leash get too long because of, I guess, what they've seen in the past from him. But if they just let him settle, let him do his thing and be comfortable, then you'll probably see a lot of changes from the Jets, because this is the same Jets team that they set up for Aaron Rodgers to win a Super Bowl with. So they have the offensive capabilities, they have the pieces there. They're just needing the quarterback. And I think if you give Zach Wilson time, make him feel comfortable, let him do his thing, then I think that they can still be a good team in the end of the season.
Fair enough. I think that's a good grade, Anthony. I think part of their cowardice is it's a lack of faith in Zach Wilson.
Of course.
It's
but
a
how
lack
do you
of
go to
faith
every
in
press
the training
conference saying
well.
you have all the faith in the world in Zach Wilson, and then you come out in the game and it's run, pass, run, pass, punt.
Yeah. So we're getting a little short on time here, so I'm gonna just give my grade real quick, and if you'd like to comment on it, then feel free. But I give the Dolphins a C+ as well. Their defense is still a work in progress. Their secondary is a mess. Their defensive line has underperformed last week, notwithstanding, and their offense is still prone to silly little mistakes that kill drives. They can move the ball up and down the field on any team, but Tua makes bad throws sometimes. They get bad offensive holding calls, 12 men on the field, illegal formations. The Dolphins are not a disciplined team, and I want to see more discipline from them before I up their letter grade. So if you want to comment on my C+ grade, I know Anthony looked a little surprised by it, but if you want to comment on my C+ grade, feel free.
Yeah, I think that you're being a little bit harsh. For me, I think that they are, offense aside, and you have tremendous amounts of firepower in terms of your weapons. Like, you're making it work with like a barely functional offensive line, a defense that is leaking like a sieve, and you have to scheme around your talent. And like Mike McDaniel is making so much happen for you guys. I get the penalties in terms of discipline and stuff, but like, if you give Mike McDaniel less than like an A- after, what are you guys right now, 4-1? Yeah, like 4-1 start for the Dolphins right now, I would be thrilled.
My point more so, Anthony, is there's meat on this bone. There's so much room for this team to improve,
for sure,
and become, and what I view as an upper echelon team, Super Bowl contending team. They aren't there yet, and if they improve on those areas, they can get there. So C+ is a reflection of the fact that there's so much room for improvement for this team.
Okay.
Is Jalen Ramsey back from injury yet?
No. He won't be back till probably late November at the earliest. Probably early December is probably when we're going to see Jalen Ramsey again. I'm hoping Nick Needham comes back. That would be a really nice boon for this defense. Really nice boon for this secondary. That's kind of, the cornerback room has not been good. Eli Apple, he's not going to get another job after this. He's not going to get another job after this season.
I was going to say, I don't know how Eli Apple keeps jobs in the NFL, because he's been getting picked on for years.
There's terrible corners out there too, though. They're worse than him.
Yeah, it's true.
Hey, Josh Norman got a job. I can't believe that.
Yeah, Josh Norman just signed with the Bills. Oh man. All right, let's move on. I wanted to get you guys' thoughts on Week 6. So, Chris, I'm going to start with you. The Patriots are playing the Raiders this week. Give us a preview of that.
The preview of that would be Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs running a rough shot over us and just tormenting us. Um, what's it called? Max Crosby in Mac Jones' face all game long, just tormenting him. Probably he might hurt him. He might hurt him next week. So I mean, I just don't really see us winning. I know the what's it called? The Raiders. I can't. I think the Raiders are coming off of they won last week.
They did. They won.
Yeah.
They beat the Packers in like
they beat the
the
Packers.
game.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
the Raiders are coming off of a big win off of the Packers, and that was a good game. I watched it, so I don't know how I forgot that they won. But yeah, you know, they were giving Max Crosby is one of the players that will give any quarterback, any line headaches all night. And with the way our offensive line is looking, I really just see him rushing and putting pressure on Mac Jones. I see a couple pick sixes. I just don't really see our defense being able to, you know, our defense is decimated right now, so I don't see anyone stopping Devontae Adams. And Jacoby Myers was always one of our better receivers. So now that he's wide receiver 2 to a great Devontae Adams, he's going to be open. Josh Jacobs hasn't had the season that he's been looking for so far, but I think with our loss of Matthew Judon and just the way our defense has been on the field constantly, I think he's going to have a breakout game this week. So I see us getting our behinds kicked. I don't know if I'd put it in like another 30-0 game, but I'd probably put it like 7-20, 7-21, 7-28 type of game. So I don't see us winning. I'm disappointing in us right now.
That's fair. I understand where you're coming from, Chris.
Chris, are you waving the white flag?
No. We need our team to be healthy, and there's a lot of things that I need to figure out. And just the way our team's looking right now, I don't see us winning too many games in the next few weeks until at least we get some of our players, our cornerbacks back, and you know we just figure out what's going on with the offense. Our line's hurt, so
I think this game's going to be more competitive than you think it is, Chris.
Yeah. I think the Raiders aren't as good as their win against the Packers.
I hope so.
I think the Packers just showed that they're not one of the best teams in the NFC.
Yeah,
they're good. Yeah.
I think the Pack. Well, no one said the Packers were one of the better teams in the NFC. I mean, Jordan Love is hitting on about 50% of his passes, so he's very inaccurate. And you know, and then Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. Well, Aaron Jones is hurt. AJ Dillon is the lead back, so you know they were still like Aaron Jones is probably the biggest focal point of that offense. So they weren't a full team, you know, and they still gave the Raiders a run for their money. So, and I think the Packers have better offensive capabilities than the Patriots do at this point.
Okay. Well, I'm going to move on to Anthony. Jets, Eagles.
Jets at Eagles.
Big one.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be. I'm fully resigned to us not necessarily winning this one. I'd like to see it to be. I'd like it to see it be competitive. This is the second Super Bowl team that we've played in 3 weeks because we just played the Chiefs 2 weeks ago, and we're playing the Eagles this week. I'd like to see it be competitive. I'd like to see them continue to shorten the leash for Zach Wilson, or lengthen the leash for Zach Wilson, similar to what happened with the Chiefs game. I'm still convinced the only reason why it went out as long as it did was they were down 17 points before they could blink. If they allow Zach Wilson to take advantage of what is right now a fairly shoddy Eagles secondary, there's a possibility we can put some points on the board. That pass rush from the Eagles is terrifying right now with Jalen Carter especially, and Fletcher. I don't know if Fletcher's Cox is going to be in this game. But like, you know, I have
Reddick had a couple of sacks last week for the Eagles.
That's the other one. Like, that team is scary. You know, I don't expect us to win. I'd like to see it competitive. I'd like to see some points on the board. I'd like to see a lack of fear on behalf of Hackett. But if we can get to the bye, you know, if we can get through this game healthy, we have the Giants on the other side of this. That's all I'm looking forward to. We have the Giants on the other side of this. And I get it's supposed to be like a road game, but like there is no road game in MetLife for me.
Yeah. So, well, Anthony, I think to stay on topic here,
Mhm.
I think this is going to be a competitive game. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets upset the Eagles.
Really?
I'm throwing that out there.
Put that in the universe, my man.
Look, we've talked about this in the past, Anthony. I
Mhm.
don't think much of the Eagles. I don't think much of the Eagles defense. I don't think much of the Eagles as a team. They've underperformed thus far in this. They're undefeated, but they've underperformed based on their own standards. And I don't think that they're the team they were last year. They don't have the same fire in their bellies, for lack of a better term.
So Keith, would you take that bet? Would you take that bet to Vegas?
Would I take that the Eagles? What the Jets are going to beat the Eagles?
Yeah.
Well, it depends on the odds I'm getting here, Chris.
I'm guaranteeing you the odds are going to be plus 200.
Plus 200?
Yeah.
I would. No, I'm not that bold. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets pull off the upset.
But I wouldn't put money on it.
I'm not putting money on it. Come on now.
Oh, okay.
I'm not crazy. But yeah, no, I don't. But I don't think as much of the Eagles as a team as most people do. I'll say that much.
Okay.
Brett, what are your thoughts on this game coming up?
Well, I'm gonna start with the Jets and say that, with the Eagles have been, every team has played them pretty tight. So, the Eagles could lose this game. Don't get me wrong. It could very well be a trap game for them. And the Jets are kind of on a run right now. They're making some noise, and I think they're going to improve. But for the Buffalo Bills, I mean, this is a game, like Keith has said, this is a game where Buffalo is going to be going up against a team that's depleted. Buffalo's depleted too. And I think it really just comes down to Buffalo, going out there and showing that they are still one of the best teams in the AFC. And while they're going up against the Giants and they have a lot of injuries, this is a game where you can go out there and toy with your offense and figure out ways to get better as a team. But it takes focus. It takes next man up mentality. And that's the things that we're going to have to see this week. And I think this is going to be a statement game for the Buffalo Bills to get right back in the AFC East. But I think that, if the Dolphins find a way to lose this week, which we'll see, you never know. It's any given Sunday. Buffalo might be back in first place at the end of the week.
Well, I think this is definitely a get right game for you guys. It's against the Giants. Anthony's looking forward to playing the Giants in a couple of weeks. The Patriots are going to play the Giants at some point. You guys might actually get a win. That'll be good for you guys. Good for you guys. But no, I kid, Chris. But no, the Giants are looking like a team that's going to be picking in the top 5 of the draft this year.
Yeah.
So presumably, a game against the Giants cures what ails you as a team, and the Bills get the benefit of having the Giants come to their home after a tough loss in London. So, good for you guys. What are you guys' thoughts on this game? Anthony, Chris?
Yeah, I was like, maybe this is the classic trap game. Like, they're a look ahead game. They're waiting for the team after, but they just have the Patriots the week after that. Like, it's not even.
Yeah.
They have nothing to look for. Like, the Bills' schedule in the next 3 weeks is the Giants, the Patriots, and the Bucks. And no offense to the Bucks, they've looked Baker Mayfield's looked plucky.
Yeah.
But that's it. That should be a pretty easy win, especially at home. You guys don't even get a tough game until week 9 when you're playing at the Bengals. After week 11, your schedule's brutal. And I got my popcorn ready for that. But you guys should be feeling pretty comfortable for the next 4 weeks.
Yeah.
I definitely say, the Giants have definitely looked rough to start the season. But at the same time, we felt the same way about the Bills. I mean, sorry, not the Bills. We felt the same way about the Jets before the Chiefs game, So
good point, Chris. Really good point.
Yeah, you never know how a team could turn it around and when they could start catching fire and getting that chemistry. So I need to start being a little bit more positive about my Patriots as well. But it's any given Sunday, they could be
You're
an
right.
upset. They could be
Yeah.
a team starts getting that chemistry back and they start catching. My favorite thing about the NFL and what I mentioned probably earlier in the weeks and early in our shows is that a team will get it together at the right point, during the season, and then all of a sudden they make a run all the way deep into the playoffs. And that's how it goes. The team who starts off the hottest is not normally the team who will, end the hottest, because you always think about the was it 2000? It was about 2018-19 Steelers with Ben Roethlisberger when they started 10-0, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
they were blowing through teams,
Yep.
and next thing you know, they lost every single game after that.
But
Teams they figured it out and they just lost. They just
But you know what? Like that Steelers team, to your point, Chris, like that Steelers team, they feel like what the Eagles feel like to me this season. They felt like what the Eagles feel like to me this season. That Steelers team never felt real. And
Yeah.
for whatever reason, this Eagles team this year doesn't feel real to me. And I think if if they go up against a competitive team, like the Jets, with a good defense, it's going to put some pressure on them. I don't know that they're going to hold up, which is why I think the Jets could upset the Eagles this week. Not that I'm willing to put money on it.
Well, one thing I want to say, one thing about this Eagles team that they didn't have last year is they have great running backs this season, because last
They
season
do.
last season they had Kenneth Gainwell leading the pack, and then I forgot the other guy
Miles Sanders.
Yeah, Miles Sanders, and then the third back who they let get away with that.
Boston Scott.
Boston Scott, who caught the pass outside in the back of the end zone, and they gave him a touchdown, even though he stepped out of bounds, and that was what beat the Patriots.
Oh, you sound a little salty still, Chris.
No, the tape showed that he was out of bounds. So,
yeah.
But outside of that, they have great running backs, and they still have Kenneth Gainwell, who's probably the most veteran running back on that core. But they have what is his name again? DeAndre Swift, who is looking phenomenal. One of the better running backs in the NFL. He's looking phenomenal with the Eagles this season, and they still have Rashad Penny in the back. Like a RB3 right now. So they have a great three-headed monster right now. So on top of their core wide receiver core has not changed outside of, I think, losing Quez Watkins, who really didn't produce anyway. So they're looking good. So I don't think I don't really see them slowing down, but we'll see. Maybe, like you said, like I always said, any given Sunday, the Jets have a great team, so they can, probably pull the upset, but we'll see.
How many tush plays do you think we're going to see this week for the Eagles?
As many as they can manage.
Oh, the tush push.
As many as they can manage.
I seen they call it the city of Brudley. I saw that they call it. Yeah,
let's do a few of these comments here, because Sean's been commenting, and so Sean thinks that the Giants are going to beat the Bills 35-10 on Sunday.
Yeah, he's just trying to reverse curse it.
Yeah, that's what it seems. That's what it feels like, right?
Right?
35-10 Bills. I mean, look, if the Giants beat the Bills 35-10, then it's time for you guys to panic. I will.
If they beat him 35-10, Sean has to buy a Daniel Jones jersey. Are we all in agreement?
Yep, let's do it. So,
last second.
All right, so I'm just gonna give a quick preview of the Dolphins game. This should be another easy victory for the Dolphins. They are welcoming the Panthers into Miami. Panthers are still winless on the season. Bryce Young is playing behind another porous offensive line. This offensive line might actually be worse than the Giants' offensive line the Dolphins faced last week. They are
actually mostly healthy. That's the worst part about it.
Yeah, exactly. It's been bad, and Miles Sanders, the aforementioned Miles Sanders, is there. He can't find a running lane. It's Adam Thielen is the number one wide receiver. And as much as I like Adam Thielen as a receiver, his prime was 5 years ago. And he's the Panthers' number one wide receiver. So this is an undermanned Panthers team that the Dolphins should win against fairly easily. Now, this is the NFL. Any given Sunday, like we said, So the Dolphins can't look past them because they do have the Eagles on Sunday Night Football in 2 weeks. Going to be a huge game. I'm going to be there. Can't wait.
Nice.
But yeah, at the link. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, Sean and I made a trade in fantasy football this week. But I traded Derrick Henry to him for Terry McLaurin, Najee Harris, and another wide receiver too. I forget who it was.
I was wondering who took the Derrick Henry side of that. That seems like fool's money.
Yeah,
Spears are better.
Yeah, so yeah, I thought it was a decent trade for me. I don't love Najee Harris, but I don't love Derrick Henry either.
I love Terry McLaurin.
All that trading y'all doing, and I'm still at the top of the league.
There you go, Chris. I'm way at the bottom. But yeah, so helping Keith out because he didn't draft. That's true. I that was an auto drafted. That was an auto draft for me. But the Dolphins game should be an easy one. Hopefully, the Dolphins can win it. Going away and get to the Eagles game as healthy as they can. So, what are you guys' thoughts on that, real quick?
I think it's an auto win. I think you should be looking at this as soon as we can get out healthy, that's fine. That means pull Tua in the third, do it. You're up 3 touchdowns, they're not catching you.
Yeah.
It's that Panthers team, thank God the Bears have their pick.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree. It's funny, I had seen a post.
Yeah, it was Thielen. Thielen was the other one.
I had seen a post about the Carolina Panthers where it said that Adam Thielen was the number 1 receiver. If only they had if they were looking for a number 1 receiver, it's like only if they had a guy like DJ Moore on their team.
If only, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that trade is aging like milk as far as the Panthers are concerned. It's looking real bleak down there in Carolina. And you know what? It's not even Bryce Young's fault. He was thrown into an impossible situation that a lot of number 1 overall picks were thrown into. Peyton Manning wasn't thrown into a better situation.
Yes, he was. I don't want to hear this. Marshall Faulk was already there. Marvin Harrison was already there. Tariq Glenn was already there. That team was getting there.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, that's a good point.
And he learned from his losses too.
Yeah. And hopefully Bryce Young can learn from his losses because there's a lot of losses in that young man's future. All right. So look, let's wrap it up here, guys. We've been at this for almost an hour and a half now. It's been a lot of fun. So, Chris, you have any final thoughts tonight?
No final thoughts. Just kind of sad. I didn't really see our season going like this. I was talking a lot of crap early in the season because we at least had potential, but now it's kind of like you just see it fading away slowly. But any given Sunday, staying positive until our season is done, until we're out of playoff contention. Until then, I'm gonna stay positive and just hope for the best.
Fair enough. Anthony, any final thoughts?
I'm just looking forward to getting to week 7. That's our bye week. Maybe we get a little bit healthy, and then we get the Giants game. Can't wait for that. Cannot wait for that. I got Giants fan family. So
okay,
that's gonna be fun.
All right.
I don't know what to tell you, Jake. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. Brett, any final thoughts from you, man?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with this comment from Red, White, and Bills, and wants to let's get a Bill stink, and that's not gonna happen today. So I'm just gonna let him know that we're gonna stay positive. We're gonna get back on the winning track and find a way to get a win out here this week. And I want to say thank you to you guys too as well. Keith, Chris, and Anthony. Glad to be back with you guys again. Have the foursome group back again. Love you guys. Really do appreciate everything you do for the channel. And go Bills.
All right. Look, guys, if you like what you saw today, like, subscribe, leave some comments. I'm more than willing to answer whatever comments you might have. And guys, for everybody who showed up to watch the show, thank you very much. We appreciate it. And so look, for Keith, Chris, Anthony, Brett, everybody else here at the Nickel City Mafia channel, thank you for watching, and have a lovely night.
Go Bills.
Jet up.
Pats Nation.